By to talk about Prop 23. Hey, Dan.
Yeah, this is a big one. And for a lot of people, unemployment obviously is going up in California, something like 12% right now. And a lot of folks are presented with a choice on Election Day about cutting greenhouse emissions or not cutting greenhouse emissions. All that smoke, high levels of carbon dioxide and things like that going into our atmosphere obviously causes pollution, and it's not good for people. Whatever you want to call it, global, greenhouse, whatever. In any event, there is a proposition coming up on the ballot that addresses this. It is called Prop 23, and now Californians face that initiative. And basically what it would do would be put aside some of these emissions laws for a while until the unemployment rate drops to 5.5%. Right now it's 12%. So it would be a while, definitely. It could be a long time until that changes. And now, so joining me here this morning, right now are two people who want to talk about this. Deborah Kelly, she is the Senior Director of Advocacy and Health for
the American Lung Association.
The American Lung Association, exactly. Get the whole thing in there. And Bryan Bloom, who is the owner of a company called Priority Moving. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
All right, so basically this law would put aside the current emissions law that we have, a greenhouse gas law, if you will. It would put it aside until the unemployment rate drops, because a lot of people think that this is going to kill jobs when you put these restrictions on businesses and you make them spend a lot of money, to clean up their factories. This is the bad time to be doing it. Bryan, I know you believe that.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, when it was passed in 2006, unemployment was 4.8%.
Yeah.
So what the proposition does is it doesn't stop AB 32. It suspends it until the unemployment rate comes back down till we can afford it.
Yeah, that could be a long time, couldn't it?
Yeah, that's
it's 12% unemployment right now.
Yeah, it doesn't suspend it, it basically kills it. And the American Lung Association is strongly opposed to Prop 23 because it's going to worsen our air pollution, it's going to threaten our public health, it's going to increase our dependency on dirty oil, and it's going to really pull the plug on our clean tech economy.
Yeah, a lot of people, of course, are saying now at this time in our economy that putting more restrictions on businesses is probably not a good thing to be doing.
Well, I think this is really a matter of health. When we are dealing with air pollution issues, hundreds of thousands of people have asthma attacks, thousands of people are actually killed prematurely by our air quality, and thousands of people visit the emergency room. So for us, it's really a matter of health, but it's also a matter of health for our economy. We think that this is clearly going to be good for the California economy. And the problem with Prop 23 is it doesn't press the pause button, it presses the rewind button. We will roll back the progress that we're making on our air quality issues.
Yeah. Bryan, what happens to you if these laws, these restrictions continue to go forward? What would happen to your business? What would it do?
Well, of course, it puts us at a disadvantage. California is the only state, the only place in the entire world that is proposing more strict regulations. We already have the strictest environmental and air quality and water quality regulations in the entire world. Prop 23 doesn't change those at all. All it does is suspend AB 32, which in fact, even the California Resources Board didn't do it to make the air quality better. It lops additional regulations and taxes on top on people like me. It makes it harder for me to compete, and increases leakage, which means companies will leave the state and go to places where they don't have to comply with it.
You know, they're predicting that $150 million is going to be spent on this campaign alone, and a lot of that money coming from out-of-state oil companies that they're not even based here. And in fact, yesterday, the governor, who's always pretty good with a one-liner, said he's basically against this. And he says, do you think that these people are spending their money out of the goodness of their black oil hearts to save millions of jobs for Californians? And he laughed at that, and he scoffed at that, and he said, no, this plays into big business, big oil, and it's going to save them billions of dollars.
Well, it just shows you the rhetoric. If someone has to say it in those terms, but the biggest supporter against Prop 23 is a billionaire venture capitalist, looks a lot like Gordon Gekko in Wall Street, and he's the one, and he wants to benefit from the arbitrage that's going to take place when you put all these regulations on top of businesses like mine that want to create jobs. He's going to invest in companies that now have an advantage because the regulation forces them to hire and produce certain kinds of jobs. Of course,
what you're talking about is alternative energy.
Right.
Which is really sort of, a lot of people say, the jobs of the future that are going to be an alternative energy. A lot of these jobs, and so I guess there are people who will say it's going to be a wash because you know, the part of the economy that's hurt from the regulations will be offset by a new economy that's being created with clean energy technologies.
And I'd like to go back to the point. This really is all about air pollution. You know, that's why that's what we're fighting about. Proposition 23 is going to make our air pollution worse here in California, here in San Diego. And it's also true that 97% of this is coming from oil interests. About 89% of the money is coming from, you know, Texas companies. So it really is, it's really, you know, they wrote it for themselves, for their benefit. It's not about the benefit of people of California, the businesses of California. It's all about these Texas oil companies who don't want to clean up their act to make our lives better and healthier.
But on the other hand, it does trickle down to the small businessman like Bryan.
Yeah, I mean, it's neat to say because it's out-of-state money that it's bad, but these Texas oil companies own and produce over 100,000 oil company jobs in California that will be at risk. And nothing in Prop 23 stops green investment in green companies or green jobs. It doesn't stop it at all. We still have the strictest air quality laws in the world. And a great example of leakage is a company that up in Silicon Valley called Miasol that took the credits that were given to them and opened up in Atlanta, Georgia to bring their jobs. So, you know, I think a lot of it is rhetorical. The fact that the money comes from Texas I think it shouldn't really matter to the average person out there who has a job, who's going to lose their job if AB 32 goes through. It's the wrong time for AB 32 to come in.
All right. Prop 23 is what this is called.
Right.
And it basically would suspend that AB 32, which was already approved. So but I would recommend, I actually read my ballot pamphlet. And it really explains everything. It lays it out, arguments for and arguments against. It's always good to read the ballot pamphlet before you go out there and make up your decision. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time here this morning. Okay, more ahead on this